Okay, here we go, gang. It is 10:50, so we're gonna start now. So at this time, we have the pleasure of welcoming a tireless advocate for Hawaii and a champion for healthcare. We're so happy that she was able to take some time out of an insane schedule to be with us here today in Waikoloa. She represents Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District. She co-chairs the bipartisan Rural Health Caucus, working to expand access to care in some of the most remote communities in our nation. Some of them just happen to be in her very own district. From strengthening the healthcare workforce to advancing telehealth and mental health services, our Congresswoman is committed to ensuring that geography and income never determine the quality of care that folks receive. Her leadership reflects a deep dedication to the health and well-being of our families and our communities. Also up here, moderating the discussion, will be our friend Ross Wilson, and he's gonna introduce himself at his request. A little bit nervous about that, but we'll roll with it. So please, join me in giving the warmest of welcomes to our very own Congresswoman, Jill Tokuda.
So where do you want me to sit? Just anywhere? You want to sit down too, or am I?
In a second.
Okay.
Hello? I can talk loud. Good morning, everybody. Jill and I had a conversation a few minutes ago, and I think you need to know that she flew in from DC about 8 hours ago, and she was complaining to me. She was complaining to me. She got into Honolulu. Her kids were sleeping. She has 2 boys in high school at Castle. They were sleeping. She kissed them while they were sleeping. She left while they were sleeping, and she's planning to spend some time with her family this weekend. At great sacrifice, she's here. She reminded me that she's up here following John DeFreeze again, like she's done. And nobody wants to follow John DeFreeze.
No, it's tough.
I had put together a little bio, and Crystal asked for a headshot and a bio, right, Lisa? I sent her the headshot, and it was George Clooney, so she decided not to put it up on screen. But I'm going to read you the bio because I thought it speaks to who I am before you get into who Jill is. I'm the superhero protector, a tortured, brooding individual who fights against evil and strives and strikes fear into the hearts of bad people everywhere. In my public identity, I am Ross Wilson, public relations hack and notorious playboy. I am one of the world's smartest men too. My physical prowess, my technical ingenuity, my tactical thinking make me an incredible, dangerous opponent and a wonderful friend and a great drinking partner. In my spare time, I work towards making Hawaii Island a healthy community with community first. We're all here because we want this to be a healthy community. We live in a rural area, and healthcare is tough here for a lot of different reasons. And one of the reasons why a lot of us are involved is that if you live on Hawaii Island, your life expectancy, because we're in a rural community, is less than if you live on Oahu. And so it's truly important that we all work together to make this a healthier place. And with that, the Dog and Pony Show, but Congresswoman Jill Tokuda, it's your show.
Okay, now I have to add to my list, in addition to hard act to follow after John, is clearly Ross. And I'm also going to instruct my staff that I want my bio redone. That's a lot better.
I'll work on it.
Thank you, thank you. Although, if Ross works on it, I'm scared to see what mine might say too. But aloha, everyone, and thank you so much for always inviting me to join you here today. I hope you know that I really go to great lengths to make sure that I can get here, because this is absolutely so important. And can I just say, after the shit show I've been through over the last week, sorry to the children in the room, by the way. Sorry, parents. You are a sight for sore eyes. Thank you. Like, I don't even have to question if we're on the same page when it comes to access to healthcare and mental health services. You know, I don't think we have to argue about lines in the sand, about can we keep government open, but can we keep people alive? This is not the question mark in this room. And so to be surrounded by all of you, to literally come home off planes and be surrounded by all of you, you just filled me back up. You filled me back up with all the aloha I need to go back next week and do this over again and again and again. But just a big mahalo to every one of you. As I look around this room, so many friends, so many advocates, fierce advocates. You're all frontliners, and I've told you that before. People depend on you, their lives, their quality of life, all of this, life expectancy. It's literally in your hands. And as I've always said from day one, and I've shared this to you, it is absolutely not fair that when a kapuna on Waianae Beach sits with me there and points to Honolulu and asks, how come they live 10 years longer than me? There is no good answer. There's no good answer until we fix that. We fix the disparities that exist between rural and remote and urban America, rural and remote and urban Hawaii, too. And so that's really, to me, I feel like my charge in Congress, is to make sure that no matter, as Ross said, no matter where you live in this country, in this state, on this island even on this island, no matter where you live, that should not limit your ability to access the health care that you need, the health care your family needs. And so, you know, the fact that you gather, not just today, but in every other day, together to work hard on behalf of our people, I am truly grateful. And please always know that I am an advocate, a friend, a champion, a fighter right there next to you. And so with that, I think we're going to go into some fun questions. Can you throw in some fun ones, by the way? Because there's a lot of junky answers that I got to give today. So I want to make this fun questions. Too, okay?
You have index cards on the table, and if you have questions for the Congresswoman, put your questions on the card. Karen Tashima's in the back of the room. Raise your hand and we'll grab it. First question, is our federal government still shut down?
Yes. It's very sadly shut down. As most of you watching the news know, the Democrats, the House Democrats flew back, and we were all ready and present to start working on Monday. Republicans have given themselves off in the House until next week, Tuesday. So we showed up, literally sat in an empty chamber, demanding to even have one of our newest members sworn in, and they gavelled out, turned off the lights. But we were there. We have been doing live streams. We've been calling on them for action. And as I mentioned, the hard line in the sand for us literally is healthcare. So how many of you have heard them say that, you know, what's wrong with the clean CR? I'm using quotation marks, if you can see it, right? You've heard that, a clean CR. Well, let me tell you.
What's a CR?
Continuing resolution. It's a fancy government way of saying I'm kicking the can down the road, literally, because we can't figure out the budget for the fiscal year, right? It's kicking the can down the road. But here's the thing that I have a problem with in this clean CR. It literally includes cuts that we made to, you know, funding the PAC Act, the commitments we made literally to our veterans who suffered so much in the burn pits as a result of the toxic exposure that they were given. We have a lot of veterans on this island. You have the most veterans, I believe, on this island than any other island throughout the state. It cut programs for the most vulnerable, for children, for families, for keiki, all of that. That goes back to March, the bill we voted against the first time, the first continuing resolution that we refused to pass. But not only that, and this is my biggest offense that I was sharing with folks earlier today, It includes money for increased security for politicians and judges. And I get it. I get it. It's a really scary time. I am so lucky to live in Hawaii and to have the constituents I have. But the fact that you are going to try to pass a continuing resolution with money to protect yourself and fail to protect the health care of everyday citizens is outrageous. It's outrageous. At least come and sit on a couch with us, on a table, and negotiate, because, what are our lines in the sand? What's my line in the sand? Cancel the cuts, the $1 trillion to Medicaid. That's not just going to hurt people, that's going to hurt providers, that's going to hurt rural hospitals, that's going to hurt our FHQCs, it's going to hurt every single person involved in the healthcare system and every single American, quite frankly. Cancel the $1 trillion in cuts. And then what else can we start talking about? How about the enhanced premium tax credits? That's a mouthful, right? The Affordable Care Act. How many of you know people, have patients that use the marketplace to get their insurance? A lot of small businesses, a lot of farmers, a lot of folks that are underemployed but need insurance. Now, we have a lot less, I will give you that, than states across the country because we have Prepaid Health Care Act, because we have a very robust system. But for tens of thousands of people right here in Hawaii, tens of thousands of people, they rely on the marketplace. If we do nothing to extend these premium tax credits, right? Remember, we already enshrined the billionaires' tax credits. They're fine, permanently, in perpetuity. But unless we do something to extend, and I would say make permanent, these tax credits, come January 1st, a lot of the folks that you know or might start finding out about, the premiums are going to more than double, if not triple. Now in Hawaii, we already understand what doubling the cost means. That's the loaf of bread, that's the milk, that's the eggs. Double the cost of anywhere else in the country. That's what we pay. Now can you imagine someone's health premiums, monthly health premiums for one person going up hundreds on hundreds of dollars a month? On average, they're probably looking about at least $250 more a month, at least. They're going to have to make some impossible choices, and you know them, you've seen them, you've sat with them, as they've said. Can I pay my health premiums that now are going to be close to $1,000 a month for some of these folks? Or do I put food on the table? Do I pay rent?
A lot of them will put food on the table and not pay the insurance premium.
And then you're going to find a lot more uncompensated care, more very, very sick people who did not go through any kind of wellness checks, preventative screenings, testings, all of these different things. You're going to find them on your doorstep. And people will die. I'm going to be very bluntly honest. We're not trying to be extreme about this. If we do nothing to cancel the $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts, if we do nothing to, extend the Affordable Care Act premium enhanced tax credits, the only certainty we know is that people across this country and here in Hawaii will die.
People in our community are going to die. Absolutely.
And so that's really depressing. So I hope Ross has an easier question, fun one, for me to follow this. Oh, look, we have cards.
Well, Karen, you can come up on stage.
Okay, wait. What is your favorite cookie from Mrs. Barry's? Because I definitely intend on getting there before I hit the airport. Favorite cookie flavor? Brownie. I've never had a brownie cookie from there. Anyone? Yell it out. He's looking through the cards. Chocolate shortbread. Okay. What else? Oh, that sounds good. Is it like a dark cookie with like cocoa in it? Or is it like a regular chocolate chip with loads of chocolate chips? Yeah? Okay. All right, now you know where my head's at because you're close to lunch too. So
I'll give you the easy one. There's some hard ones here. The easy one, the fun question is, what do you do to fill your cup?
Oh, that's good. That's a great one. I fill it with cake. I'm not even joking. Cake is really important, so is caffeine. But to really answer that, I spend time as much as I can. I flew here without even seeing my kids awake, as Ross was mentioning. So getting home, having a meal with them. I tell people, I used to think before I started my time in Congress that I would count the days that I'd be home. I'd appreciate the days. I count the moments, I count the meals now. because it's really sad when I think about just how many days I might have home, right, in a particular week. But when you start to count and make every moment count, every meal, let's clean the house and do chores together, which they love, my teenage boys. They absolutely love that. Grocery shopping, just the simple things, you really start to see how rich you really are. And so for me, not only cake do I fill it with, but my cup really is just the time that I have with the people I love, the people I like spending time with. And so please, I would also ask you folks, during what will be a very stressful and has been stressful time, please make sure to give yourself some grace. I've been telling that to every folks that I meet. Give yourself grace, give yourself space. Allow yourself not to be perfect. You will not be able to fix this with some magic wand, but you are the answer. You're the antidote and the solution and the cure. So give yourself, as much time to heal and replenish too, because this is a marathon, folks. But if we're all in this together, we're going to get through, and we're going to be better on the other side. So thank you for that great question.
Trump is threatening withholding federal funding from Democratic cities.
Yes.
How likely is that in Hawaii?
It's already happening. You folks might have seen on the news the other day, $8 billion in Department of Energy funding, a very long list. The vast, and I mean vast, I saw the list, the vast majority of projects are in Democratic states. I would say 7 out of hundreds of projects that have been rescinded are Republican. So this is clearly punitive. This is retribution at its worst. It is illegal, to be very blunt about it. We are following up on what those projects are, and we're going to make sure Republicans understand what they have done to hurt jobs in our state and our country, the kind of economic contributions this would have made to our state and our country. They are hurting Americans. They're hurting our people. So they are definitely targeting, and we will be fighting back, and I know our AGs are going to be suing like hell, too, to make sure that they're held accountable.
What is the number one action we can do from our rural locations? Protest, educate others.
All of the above. Help us share your stories. How many of you have heard stories from people or experienced something in the last, how many months we've been in this? 10 months, right? 10 months that we've been in this. Raise your hands. I know you're tired. It's almost lunch. But if you have heard stories of people, how they've been impacted by a lot of these actions, these cuts, they will be, talking about whether or not they should stay in business as a provider anymore. Can my hospital keep its doors open? Somebody talking about how if they lose that money that they just got on their form recently about SNAP EBT, they're going to have less money. A lot of people have started to get those forms, how they're going to have to think, how do I make ends meet? How do I stretch this money, right? Share those stories. Share them loudly. Share them to anyone who will listen. Share them with us, please, because I'll tell you something, too. There's more people than we all want to admit here in Hawaii who don't believe this is a problem. There's a lot of folks outside those doors, not in this room, I know, but outside those doors, who actually think these actions by Trump are good. We need to let them know that there's some real human faces behind these inhumane cuts that are happening. The more you share that story, the more that they understand that it's happening in their own backyard, to their ohana, to their friends, to their coworkers, to their neighbors, then they're going to understand why we have to, 100% of us, 120% of us, have to push back. So share those stories, elevate the voices of those who feel that they don't have hope right now with their food money being taken away, their insurance being cut, not being sure if they can make the bottom line to keep hospital, clinic, provider doors open. Elevate these stories, because people here in Hawaii and across the country have to know why we have this hard red line in the sand, and it's about saving healthcare.
A lot of politicians, elected officials today, absolutely lie to the public as a political strategy. So what can we do to fight the mis and the disinformation that floats out there?
Yeah.
Hard question.
It's a hard. You know what? When they lie, tell the truth. I have told so many people this. I don't care what industry you're in. We've heard lies across the board, whether you're talking about healthcare, whether you're talking about education, whether you're talking about history. Did slavery exist? Was it a bad thing? Yes. Yes, it was. Were people really put into internment camps? Yes. My great-grandfather, who was born in Papailoa, moved to Pu'unene with my grandfather and his brother. He was taken from Pu'unene to Honouliuli, Sharp Park, and ultimately to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I can tell you it happened. Taking a sign away from a park, erasing it from a website, pulling it from the Smithsonian, doesn't mean it didn't happen. So when they lie, you tell the truth. You tell the truth to everyone. If they try to put out misinformation, you tell the truth. You give the correct information. Right now, you are the truth keepers and the truth seekers. Every single one of you. And as I look out, I know people trust you. People trust you, what you say. And so it's so important that it just doesn't come out of some of our mouths. It really makes a difference when you tell them exactly how it is. And admit, yeah, on both sides of the aisle, there's a lot of crazy stuff coming out of people's mouths right now, on both sides. But here's the truth. You are the truth keepers and the truth seekers and the truth tellers. That's such an important job, and I'm sorry to put that on you, but we are in a time when everyone has to carry that banner.
Can we get an extension of the ACA exchange tax credit?
I want a permanent extension to the ACA tax credits. You know, yes, was it done during COVID? It was, right? But was the premiums too expensive before the pandemic? It was. Was health insurance out of reach even for people here in Hawaii? Absolutely. So while it was granted, as the Republicans are saying, under extreme situations because of the pandemic, that doesn't mean the need does not still exist right now. In fact, I would argue with everything that we're experiencing right now, it's even more important. We've had job losses now that rival and go beyond the job losses of the pandemic as a result of what has happened over the last 10 months. So if you ask me, we are in a disaster. We are in a crisis. And that means we have got to continue those supports that make sure that at the end of the day, people have the health care that they need. Children to kupuna, keiki to kupuna, they need that health care. So absolutely, that's what we're fighting for. That's what we've got to get.
And I think you've addressed this, but what is the impact of what is the impact on rural, underserved communities, specifically talking about kupuna?
You know, there's so many, and I'm trying not to be too depressing up here right before lunch. For kupuna, it's going to get tough, especially in rural communities. Now, Social Security is going to continue to get paid. But how many of you talked to a kupuna that said, I had a problem, I had a question? Ask them then how long they stayed on the telephone to get a human to answer the phone. Before all this and the shutdown, 2, 3, 4 hours, right? Different time zone. They start early in the morning trying. And sometimes you'll get a message that literally says, try again tomorrow when it's less busy. Not even ability to leave a message or anything. Now, Social Security, again, payments will continue to go out. But the ability for kupuna to get answers met, address any problems that they're having. Let's say they had to change the deposit of where the checks are going to go. To get on the other line is going to be an issue, especially if they start to furlough or, God forbid, fire, right? You've heard the threats of mass firing. There are going to be less people to answer the phone. If you call Social Security, you call IRS, you call the SNAP offices. Now, they also have state workers there, but everyone is going to be pulled in a million different directions. There's going to be less people there to actually assist with this in the case of a shutdown when you have furlough or, God forbid, fired employees, as I said. So this is going to make it really, really difficult for our rural kupuna. We can't just drive down maybe to an office in Honolulu and figure this out. That is absolutely unfair. As someone who represents every single island in this state, that's unacceptable to us. It's the staffing, it's the capacity, it's the humans that we've already seen mass firings of since January that's really been hurting our kapuna the most. We also know that this is a president that has had the longest shutdown on record in 2019, right? Over a month. We cannot do that again. Because while there are funds to keep things flowing, to keep, shelter money going, to keep all of these different things flowing, WIC, EBT, it is not everlasting. And so for all of us, we have to make sure that this shutdown gets done fast.
If you write really small, I have to take off my glasses to read it. I went on the U.S. Department of Justice Grants website on a violence against women matter, only to be met with, quote, Democrats have shut down the government, unquote. What do you think about the politicization of the U.S. Department of Justice? I know the answer.
I have a lot of words I'm not allowed to say or shouldn't say. I already started at the beginning with those. This is illegal. It's illegal and unethical. It's a violation of the Hatch Act. And they're even telling folks that they furlough to leave a voicemail that says exactly the same thing, that the radical left is causing this shutdown.
You said illegal and unethical. And I need to emphasize those words.
Illegal, unethical, unprecedented, right? How many of you have lived through a shutdown before? I mean, we all have, so I'm giving you a chance to get the blood flowing here. All of us have lived through a shutdown before. In 1994, I remember being in DC and Newt Gingrich's contract on America. I was a college kid. It didn't last a month, it lasted days. It was actually based on principled fights, ideological differences that they were having. But you didn't see mass violations of the Hatch Act. You didn't see threatening with mass firing versus furlough. All of these tactics that you're seeing employed, right? You didn't see them rescinding grants for the party on the other side, the Democratic states only and not Republicans ones. You didn't see this level of threat. They want to make us fearful. This is their tactic to negotiate. That is no negotiating tactic. That's authoritarianism. And so we are pushing back on all of these. We're holding investigative hearings. There are lawsuits happening from the unions that represent these workers. But bottom line, this is illegal, unethical, and unprecedented. And we cannot allow this to become normalized. Can I just say that? Because think of so many other things that we've witnessed. Unconstitutional, illegal, unethical. I don't want it to get to the point where we stop recognizing the difference between one or the other. Like, oh, that's just normal. That cannot be normalized behavior. I think that is absolutely so critically important. So please, as you see this pushback as well, if people ask you about this, tell them it's illegal and unethical. It's a violation of the Hatch Act. They're like, what's that? It has been the laws that have made sure government wasn't political. It was for the people, not politicians, not for political leverage or political gain. It has always been and should be about the people. And so please be, again, I said, the truth speakers when you see stuff, crazy stuff like this on your websites.
Softball question. Ready?
Okay.
What can we do about the meth problem?
That's softball?
I figured we'd loosen it up a little.
Thank you. Well,
We have experts in the room.
We do, and I was going to say that's what I'm saying about you folks being on the front lines and being the answers. We have to invest in and support in all of you. And what I worry about, if I may just share, I often am just a little bit too off the cuff. We're dealing with such major issues right now. Like literally, just $1 trillion to Medicaid, $500 billion to Medicare. Can we keep rural hospitals open? Can we keep providers in our island? Your reimbursements are already too low. All of these different things. Big issues like healthcare, hunger, the economy. We can't lose track, and I don't want it to be brushed under the rug that we still have a major meth problem. And a lot of times, it's a ripple effect and a result of the fact that do you have access to mental health services and professionals? Do you have access to treatment and nonprofits that can support in this particular area, that's still a big question mark. And my worry is that as we try to fix the really, really big problems, things like our meth addiction and meth crisis that we have in all of our communities, and one person is a crisis enough that we should be worried about, that we don't have enough eyes and attention and resources on things like this. So we need you folks that are doing this, the experts, as Ross said, in the room, to continue to remind us what is important, what you are fighting for as part of this ecosystem of how we keep our people healthy and safe. So thank you for, that's not a softball question, it's a real problem.
Is the Patch Act dead? And if so, what can be done?
Oh. I'm a hopeless optimist. So it is not dead. It's never dead. And we have to keep pushing. It is not fair that folks on the mainland, they call it the continent now, whatever it is, not in Hawaii, don't understand the real cost of delivering care to our people. That I can't drive to another island to get treatment or have providers come over. It's not that simple for any of us non-contiguous states. And so I do feel that we have, is it gonna pass tomorrow? Well, we need to keep government open first. We need to get that going first. Are we still pushing like hell to make sure that remedies like the Patch Act go through? And I say it's a remedy, it's not a solution, right? This is a solve, the Patch Act. We actually do have to do a whole lot more to be able to help you folks continue to deliver care and not constantly be living on those margins, but quite frankly, as you do often in the red. It's a very, very difficult place to be, and I'm truly grateful for all of you using duct tape and Bondo to really make sure that healthcare continues to be delivered, despite our inability to actually reimburse you the way we should.
The next question refers to the big, beautiful bill. Can you speak to how this will affect student loan repayment and forgiveness as it relates to providers, and still looking for answers from the Hawaii Loan Repayment Program? And it ended with help.
With help? Well, first of all, there's nothing beautiful about this big, ugly bill that was passed. It's really interesting. I will talk to my colleagues, especially from rural America, and they will sing a great song about how healthcare access is important and how difficult it is to, recruit a workforce that will come and live in their communities and actually stay there, right? Be a part of the community, how they're always, that recruitment and retention is such a big issue, and how we have to invest in workforce, and we have to invest in loan repayment programs, and we have to give people options, and yet, I don't know if they just missed that part of the 1,000-page bill where they actually cut off a lot of options for our kids in terms of, grad loans, in terms of caps and all these other types of things. They really did a disservice to our students who want to step up, who want to.
Similar question. How will the big, beautiful bill affect employers from an insurance standpoint?
How will it
Health insurance.
affect employers from a health insurance standpoint? I need a little more context. How will the big, beautiful bill affect employers from a health insurance standpoint?
Probably cost.
Cost? I mean, I don't think it really does. Employers, the big ugly bill, I don't have to look, sorry, my brain is a little bit mushy still yet, but in terms of health insurance and the big ugly bill, as you know, it just made things a lot more difficult for you to be eligible, right? It's cutting a lot of those, it's cutting Medicaid, it's cutting Medicare, it's adding work requirements for SNAP beneficiaries. That's how they intend to get a $200 billion savings as well, to require ABODs to actually go back to work. Those requirements coming in on November 1st, which would be very, very difficult as well. It really, their whole goal, as you know, when it comes to Medicaid and it comes to Medicare and it comes to SNAP, they want to disenroll people because that's how they save money. Whether you're eligible or not, they want to make the system and the process onerous. Because if you fall off and it takes a long time for you to get back on, and sometimes there's waiting periods, they gain money by you not being eligible and you not being signed up right now. So I'll go back and think a little bit harder on how this impacts health insurance for employees, especially in Hawaii. But I would say if the employer we're talking about is a hospital or a provider, this is making it very, very difficult to think about a long-term strategy of how you keep your doors open. It's gonna probably have to make you think about whether you can afford to hire some of the staff you've even recruited. Not on this island, but I've heard of another FQHC saying they turned down and had to rescind an offer they made to an OBGYN, which is critically important right now, especially in that particular county that I'm talking about, because they didn't know if they'd have the cash flow to be able to actually keep that person on board. When we're making decisions like that, that's a big impact on employers. And quite frankly, let's think about it. People are going to start to leave Hawaii. I don't know where they're going to go, though, in this country, because everyone's kind of in the same boat. We're going to start to lose more people if these kinds of costs, premiums, lack of access and eligibility to Medicaid, Medicare, lack of SNAP, all of these things, if they start to trickle down continuously on top of tariffs that are jacking up the price of everyday goods, you haven't actually seen the wave yet. It's coming. People will start to move out of this state, and we're going to lose employees.
We have 4 more cards. The Congresswoman has meetings with some of you at 11:30, 11:45,
But you guys have lunch too.
and 12 noon. We have box lunches, bentos.
Oh.
Unfortunately, you have a 2 o'clock flight, so you might have to take your bento on the plane. 4 easy ones. Well, one as it relates to us, 2 political ones, and we'll end on a high note. How's that? Can increasing access to health savings accounts that are more available with health plans on the mainland help with the insurance issues here in Hawaii?
Here, why don't you give me all 4 so I can answer them real quick on one time since I have a few minutes.
These 2 have no relation to.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see. This is like speed dating.
Okay. What can be done about the Supreme Court?
Oh, God.
I told you. The Supreme Court's support of Trump.
Okay.
How is genocide in Gaza connected to Hawaii and the health and safety of the people in Hawaii? She's on the speed dating now. If you ever want to date, we'll see what the answers are. And the fourth one, and it's the most important one. Keep fighting for us. Mahalo, Jill. We need more Democratic leaders to stand up and speak up.
Oh my gosh. I thought he'd at least turn the mic off before he dropped it. No. Well, first of all, thank you for filling my cup up. This definitely brings me joy. I'll take this back to DC and stick it up on my wall. I'm going to try to keep this really short because these are long questions. How is genocide in Gaza connected to Hawaii and the health and safety of the people of Hawaii? Well, how we treat, ILW has this statement, an injury to one is an injury to all. That's their motto, their creed, if you will. If we allow this to happen, the genocide to happen in Gaza, the withholding of literally food aid, sustenance to millions of people around the world, then what does that say about us? But more importantly, one day, it will be us. If we let people roll over rights anywhere else in the world, and even our country, what can we say when they do that to us here in Hawaii? And if we don't think that's going to happen, we're wrong. We have a president who literally gathered all of the top brass of the military in a room and said that our cities are a training ground for war. He is launching a war on American people. We cannot allow that to happen, but more importantly, we can't also stand by while they allow wars to kill innocent people around the globe. And that's why I have taken some very unpopular stances and voted against aid to Israel. It's not that I don't support what is a long relationship that we have had as a country and even as a state here in Hawaii, a partnership. But when you see that level of indiscriminate bombing and death, you can't allow that to continue in good conscience and not expect that one day the shoe will be on the other foot and that will be our reality. If we don't stand up for them, who's going to stand up for us? And so this is a tough one. We can spend more than a day. We can spend months and weeks on this one. But that's my belief here, that an injury one is an injury to all. And that's why we need to defend not just people here in our own backyards, on our own island, on our own state, on our own country, but those that are in suffering in places everywhere. What can be done about the Supreme Court support of Trump? Whew. Yeah, they muted him. It cut off 11:30. I have signed on to all kinds of Supreme Court. We need Supreme Court reform, SCOTUS reform. We need SCOTUS reform. The people of this country need to also stand up and say that this kowtowing to a president, capitulating all the responsibilities, their separation of powers to this president is unacceptable. They have invalidated their duties. They took an oath and they're negating it. I have so many thoughts in my brain right now, but in order to have SCOTUS reform, we've got to take back the majority. And we've got to make sure that this man and all of his MAGAites, I have other ways of saying that, do not hold the White House in 2028. We should never be able to appoint another Supreme Court justice, as far as I'm concerned. And we have control over who sits in the White House and who sits in Congress and has the majority. That is the only way we're going to really be able to start holding the Supreme Court accountable for their feckless decisions, their feckless support of this particular president. And can increasing access to health savings account that are more available with health plans on the mainland, see, you got to look close if it's small, yeah, I got to look far. Help with our insurance issues in Hawaii. I think this is a time right now where we're going to have to be very creative. We're going to have to be very creative at looking at how we keep people insured, we keep people covered. Right? There's no silver bullet, there's no one answer. We're going to have to be flexible and nimble and very resilient, given we don't even know what this administration will do time and time again. Look at prescription drugs and the fact that supposedly we were going to have a Trump RX starting at the beginning of the year with most favored nation drug plan prices, which, by the way, if I had to guess, may not even result in lower prices for prescription drugs.
I read that it's 1,500% cheaper or some number like that.
1,500. So they're going to pay you to take your drugs.
Exactly.
Right, because that's what he did say on the campaign trail. We're going to have them reduce their cost by 100%. So that's free, by the way, and make it even 1,500 times more. Again, there are no facts these days, right? There's a lot of information. There's a lot of lying. There's a lot of blowing out of proportion. It's so important that you really help tell the story and tell the truth to absolutely anyone who listens. And you have to force us, quite frankly, all of us in Congress and in government and everywhere, to pull back from these edges and come and sit down at a table like this and figure out what's good, not for our political party and not just for our political future, but for the people of Hawaii and this country. And that's a table I want to sit at, the one where we're actually focused not on a benefit to our parties, but the benefit to our people. So thank you so much for everything. Again, like I said, everything you do, you're holding the front line. You really are the ones keeping our people healthy, secure, and safe. And just know that I'm going to do everything possible to make sure you have the resources, support, the laws, the policy, the everything, the Supreme Courts that you need to be able to do that. So mahalo, everyone. Is it okay that I ended?
So if you need to communicate with the Congresswoman, Makai Freitas, stand up. He represents the Congresswoman on Hawaii Island, so he's the guy. If you want to talk story with Adam, he has business cards.
And I'm sure most of you, so Makai does West Hawaii. Nicole Gray lives in Hilo full-time. Many of you know her, have seen her. She's come with me to different places. So we have got a really solid team on Hawaii Island. We've got a team in our office. It is shut down, yes, but our employees are essential. They're working without pay. I'm very grateful for that. So continue to call us, even if this shutdown is continuing. If you need help, you have patients, friends, family that need help, we stand ready to assist you in absolutely any way that you need to. So
Please join me in thanking Congresswoman Jill Tokuda for caring.
Okay, shall I put it in there?
Mahalo nui, Congresswoman. Appreciate you. You know, as the partner of an elected official who often has to fly for work, not quite as far as the Congresswoman, I can attest to how big of a lift it is for the family to support the service of an elected official. So Jill, mahalo to your family from all of us for their sacrifice in allowing you to serve us. Mahalo nui. So we've had quite a morning together. We started with that beautiful opening by the Akaka Ohana. We heard from our mayor, Mayor Kimo Alameda. We got a little bit of the genesis of Community First Hawaii, hearing from Randy Kurohara and Toby Taniguchi. We got our opening keynote address from John DeFries. And we heard from our very own Congresswoman Jill Tokuda about how policy impacts healthcare delivery right here in Hawaii. It's been such a full morning, it is now lunchtime. So a round of applause for that. So a quick programming note, following lunch at 1:45, we're gonna go into our breakout sessions. There are 5 breakout sessions. If you want the specific details on each, take a look at the card in the middle of your tables. There's a QR code on the card that you can scan and get the details for each of the breakouts, as well as bios for each of the panelists, presenters, moderators, and so on. So that's your source of truth for the breakout panels this afternoon. If you're not familiar with the Paniolo rooms, they're across the main lobby. So you pass the Akaula Cafe, and they're on that wall there. So that's Paniolo rooms 1, 2, and 3. So in those rooms, you'll find breakout 1, Transforming Healthcare Delivery on Hawaii Island. Breakout number 2, People First, Culture Always, Intentional Approaches to Healing in Our Communities. And breakout number 3, Innovative Partnerships to Strengthen Hawaii Island's Behavioral Health Workforce from Entry through Licensure. So those 3 are in the Paniolo rooms across the main lobby. Breakout session 4, Palliative Care, a Hukilau of Treasures. That's right here in the main ballroom. And breakout session 5, Maternal Newborn Health, a Team Effort, Midwives and Physicians Caring for Our Future, is in Naupaka Room 4, nearby. So those are our breakouts. That's all happening at 1:45.